benza sato samaya manu palaya benza sato teno pa tichari no me bawa soto kayo me bawa soto chayo me bawa Anarato me bhava sarva siddhe me parayesa sarva karma sutta me siddham shiyam kuru ahara ho bangave sarva tata gata bezama me veza beze bhava ma samaya sato.
O Mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of the happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. I beseech the great Rajadhara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Gampopa, Pakmodrupa, Lord Jigten Sungon, at the feet of the root guru, who possesses the three ways of kindness, and all the root gurus and spiritual masters of the lineage, the Idams and Dharma protectors. May your marvelous blessings permeate my mind.
Tangue tu jesha jeresan rangin jemada de jepan jamba se jelon bota ve jep shaje jabbe jabla ko zanza jagar benje bo la ka denje pe manen ron ko lan den ron meda da ron sen bakan origin ron bo je la ko zanza ishin ga lan je ron ko den ze ba don ter selana jaro den ba kon la zanze ba ka je ron bo je la ko zanza je me sa tu je jong da man de shi jong ba cha da ba tam chin chin ba kum chin chi je Nyamen Drugon Ranjang Zanza, Rom, Chitin, Japorana, Sanjay Gunyon, and Senchu Gongo, Zava Lama, simply condition of Chusan or Sinjala, Chulan and or Sinjala, Lan Trubas was Sinjala by his and Java Sinjala, so. Thoma the Tinit Samalatarin, Samrita Hidele, Losa Bata, Losa Batring, and so Chutun goats or water, Losa Bal and Samrita Hidele Samalayu. Tinit Samaga Losa Bananatani, Sawa Zambo, Siko, Sam, Leka Zambo, Samno, Semba Zambo, Tandodana Lekas, Lekas Yabuchi, Yena Pim, Yena Pim, Yena Pimba, Ranga Deva. Semba Zambo Namjung Agara, Yesimji Tamjela, Semba Zambo Sipa. Dodina Semba Zambo Sipa, Legaya Pochipa. Dona Sawa Zambo Chigo, some Sawa Zambo Kang Tup Lambeso Chigo, some Talosapa and Tendris and Tang, Tenira, Kang Tup Beso Sente Yapres.
So, Tashidele to everybody. We are in the new year now. We're starting our Dharma session for the new year. So, also Happy New Year. And you should think that in this new year, I shall engage in positive actions, and I should cultivate a good intention, and so to bring about the benefit of others and also my own happiness. So basically, you should wish well for all sentient beings in this new year, and think that I will do the best I can to accomplish that. So it would be good that in the new year, if we all really try our best to have such an intention.
Teni tenen ta nga zu kaps papala saja chimbo ngadin nyamsi limpar sipala thomar de hundo teni kachimbo yende teni hundo telayang thomang hundo soyong hundo lodo namba yu hundo teni timo mayimba hundo teni chamdo sata jiba hundo ne tenen kaps papala timo nagin hundo teni dorje semba tang gatkin dingdup jongar sepala tani dorje semba gomde nyamne sepa tani tikola tani ma shugi yes te ndu chama ke ta kolon de hachang ke kichimbo indu tani kolon de tani samba sanchu sembe tsi simbo gone tani niro na sindor duna kolon de zambo yena tani lobyon chu nyamni lobyon karesena yan rewe zambo tobu yore kolon de changma shira ma chaba yena tani rewe yan changma shira tobu yo mare tini kolong ba chesona tini ko yorwa de gewa la jorjang tini namba de gewa yicha tong de tini ma gewa chano yore ten de tini kolong de kadu na ke chimbo inde tini kolong namba ta ba gone o ne ta dorje semba tene lobyon si semchi tamje gi chideng lobyon si nyamne si go sin namju ngan so kolong samba sancho semba chi simba so samba sancho semba chi simba si de kare sengol sena semchi pa ne yindun sur yanda zupa sancho ndu somba na yindona 심지 탐지 코버 동하라 타긴 탐지 집 공판은 구버 쓰드 등에 추냠니 로병시고 삼버틴 로디우나 되니 다디 로테 되니 되니 게와 강 드바 로병 강케 바창만더니 사초 심지 지싱거 요레스 근데 남주 가디는 코노 사초 심지 지싱고 고시야 돈다 삼버들 되니 되니 냠니 로병시고레스
So we come back to the teachings on the preliminary practices to the fivefold path of Mahamudra, which is an extremely important practice. And so already we have already completed the outer common preliminaries, which are the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. And now we have started the uncommon inner preliminaries with the refuge. We completed that. And so today we are continuing with the second one of these inner uncommon preliminaries, the Vajrasattva practice. And this is for the purpose of purifying all obscurations and negativities and all unfavorable conditions. And so, as always, the motivation is extremely important. And so therefore, we should all cultivate a motivation of bodhicitta when listening to the teachings, because it is said that when your motivation is good, then whatever you do, whatever Dharma practice you engage in or you study and so on, there will be a positive result. But likewise also, if your motivation is not so good, then there will not be a good result. So if the motivation is not so good, and it might even look on the outer level that you engage in virtuous action, but actually it's still non-virtuous because your motivation isn't good. So we always say the motivation is always very important. And so again, therefore think that I'm going to study and learn about the practice of Vajrasattva for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we always speak about this motivation of bodhicitta, which means that we cultivate wish to benefit all sentient beings and to establish them in a state of enlightenment. So that should be our motivation for practicing the Dharma and studying the Dharma, learning the Dharma. If you have this motivation, and whatever you do becomes really a virtuous activity. And so therefore also now again, when you engage in this practice, something that I'm listening to these teachings and I'm going to practice them with a mind of bodhicitta for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tani dorje semba tila kisum doa garki digdub jongar sepal dorje semba son doa garki digdub sendu ta ngaran so tara topza kare topgor sena ta ngaran so sanji tin bichu golo sho sanji tin bichu nyamne sendu topzin revete sanji ji kompa topgor dar tel top me ji me top ma topa sini Tate Karesina take Montompo, garbage in the dictup is garbage dictup. Then it did dictup the John Yalatara. Then it chepan papa, then it dodges of Gomde, dodges of Panyamni, then it chepan papa indu, then it dodges of Panyamnis. Tangati dictups and Gachi say Dona Maki Chu Lobjons Gionanda, Chu Yamni Segionanda, Topzakin Revete, Tom Matabich, a Chu Lobjonia, Chigoyana Yapu Hamawachi, Roa, Yan Chula Tepa and Hidramachi, Dona and Hidramachi, Roa. Tini Kazi Tepa Dona, you Janchi Yamni to Yapo G Mashivichi, Roa, Jello Tesson Katravala to Mango Rene, Tandona Chichu the Yapo, Machava the Karelisena. Digdubu, but Jane Latini, Dini Yapo Chamatabaris. Benanga so Chideriva. Anson Jitim Pandochi Inaya. Jitim Sawachi Dugoyona. Chinjitim Sawachi Lana Rohomina. They are called Digdubu Junchire. Rewa Digdubu Latina Chira, Sawata Drumatapari. Yaso which is Zubo Lula Ne Nasa. Tandona Jim Pachi, can't Junya, they Tamji Uncle. Rang and do dribyalat, drib maki, but any parchi no they could dictably the res. Sing around the tin doggy sawa, chung chung sawa lan and rogona, then it dictabion and rogo. Caught the dictably parchi tanga. The Sanji compound Tobiala drip the drubi in the dubures, dictably dugger, dictating in part jongo res. Penang around the jeep. Makakichi, Zupo de town semba de town you did sembala machi padoa. Sembala machi, but they are called dictably. Semdil machi, but Hira, Chichama Samazon. Young Kakiperan, Lamsan, long lang chochodoa. Chikija here and Sawa Dun and Lamsan, long lang chuchochi. Be Kijates and Tolemalin, Lamsan, long lang chupata. Roa, Kijaja, Be Kija to the Yapo here, Mashevichi, Roa, Namjung in Patti, Chado lang chuchu, Hiran lang, Diampe, Jute and dictabu Palatin, the 20 years. And to somewhat dictabu die. The dictabu said, Sendel and Dechi Tomachi Chirua, that says some salam drip the drip. They ended up dictating about the jungle. Send the Dechi top one and dictap jungle, says some Martin, Sanji compound top one, dictap jungle is. Then the train comes of Papatang and also Sanji compound top with the dictating about jungle. Neka with the top one and dictap them, Tato with Sanji compound top one, dictap jungle is. Then the dictap to the Jaya and dictap to the Jaya. Chuta Pampa Coman and Chisungu doas. Called Digdubla Unti, can Digpal Unti can hear Mares. In a chiggers, Chick Carelisena, Digdub the pa, Jama in a Kotaya is that Digpat pa, Hiajang Sena, Kotat with the Digbu Unti is. And then the thing was Digpat pa, Hiajang Sena, Taya, you do it, Tazi, let that Dodges and Banyamin Chod to do, didn't want to drink that Dodges and Banyamin Chigores. Lobion the Yanich.
So the purpose of practicing the Vajrasattva is in order to purify our the negativities and obscurations, which are unfavorable conditions. And so then also what is it that we really want to get from that, gain from that? So we have entered the doors, the gates of the Buddha's teachings. As a result of that, the reason for doing that is so that we attain the state of enlightenment ultimately. And so there is something that prevents us from attaining enlightenment, something that kind of obstructs our attaining of enlightenment. That's this unfavorable condition. The unfavorable conditions prevent our enlightenment. And the unfavorable conditions are those obscurations, the negativities in our minds. So these need to be purified so that we attain enlightenment. And it is said that the meditation and recitation, in brief, the practice of Vajrasattva is a superior way to purify these obscurations and negativities, these unfavorable conditions. So in brief, it is because of having these unfavorable conditions in our mind that even though we practice the Dharma and we learn about the Dharma, then we still do not gain a result in the end. So some people, they learn about the Dharma, but then they don't really understand it, for example, or then they don't feel a lot of faith and they're not that interested in the Dharma. And even some people, even though they actually have a lot of faith and they are interested, they just can't really practice the Dharma properly, and they give rise to all kinds of thoughts in their minds, and many doubts arise in their mind and so on. And the reason for that is that there is those obscurations and negativities and those unfavorable conditions which really prevents them from attaining any results. And not just in the Dharma, actually, even for a worldly person, if we want to accomplish anything mundane successfully, the reason why we do not accomplish our activities is also because of those obscurations and negativities in our mind. For example, there's some people who encounter all kinds of conditions, like even though, for example, physical illness and other obstacles and so on. And so for this reason, often because of various hindrances along their path, they never really accomplish anything that they wish to accomplish. And so all these obstructions that kind of prevent any accomplishment of our activities is due to these obscurations and negativities. Even if it just comes to a very small worldly mundane activity, it's because of these obscurations and negativities that often they don't turn out really well. It's because there's this obstruction. And so since these obscurations even obscure our mundane accomplishments, then no need to mention the state of enlightenment. Of course, they will also obscure that. So therefore, definitely they need to be purified. Or for example, there are some people who maybe they are actually physically well, they're healthy, but still in their minds, they always feel unhappy. And that's also because of these obscurations and negativities in the mind. Or there's some people who it doesn't take so much to get angry. They get angry really quickly. And then they just lash out on people and say something really nasty and start fighting and so on. It just flips in an instant, and they have these negative thoughts and they get jealous and they get angry and so on. So all of these negativities in our mind is negative thoughts and these emotions in our mind is a sign of having really strong negativities and obscurations in the mind. And then even in this life, we don't find any happiness, and then surely not in future lives. So these definitely need to be purified in a temporary sense, just for this life, in order to achieve happiness in this life, and also in an ultimate sense, in order to attain the state of enlightenment, we have to purify these obscurations and negativities. And so then the question arises, can we actually do that? Yes, we can. And the masters of the past have said that, so generally, there is nothing good about these negativities and obscurations, but they do have only one good quality. And that is that if we lay them aside through confession, they actually can become purified. So that's the one quality that they possess, this potential of purification. And so that which purifies them is the practice of the Vajrasattva, the meditation and the recitation of Vajrasattva. And so this is what we are going to practice today. So this is the reason why we learn about the practice of the Vajrasattva today.
Then that digdup ta sendu ngag sik sam sange digdup ta go ta hyo je yali kan digyo ma khaye nimi getene tene digdup shajang se na takiyores pena dikpa chimbo khande yana takiyores soso ke sothar ke domba samsem ke lapa sangha ke tamse karenan garde ba yana yang ning thapa ne chirang ke shapa se na shajang se na kuni dikpa den dajiyores Pena Sanjay Shari the Bakabla Sontingji, Madoki Sontingji, Gubja Gubjuko Gosene, the Nikoran Shapachene, Dipat and Dason was Koran Tama Dacho Comato. Petina around the Sanjay Shari Bakabla Yantarang the Japo Machida, Koran Power Save. Then Koran Taman you bought the Shapachene, then it Koran to Dipa, higher this. Data within it Dipa Sapochi, Tamche, Tago Yuri, then the Maran so Anthony, Dipa, Shajang se, Juba se, then the General Dipa, Nipat and Tago Yuris. Then the Dipa Shajang saying the Zo, then I to Nimpo, top year gone, then Dipate, Shagoris, Nimpo top years, Nimpos and a Carisina. Dikpate hiki dikpate mi par zochik nimpo ten mi pa chimbo te nimpo sen ben ne nimpo mi changwo nimpo chawa zen ro ko teni dikpu nimpo tele teni ma zo shakpa nimpo top yo ko ni teni dikpate shago yo res teni top yo de tara karri do sena nampa sun jimpo top nimpo kundu chopo top Nipal dopo top, tinge top, setting top year. They chat some going to think I get shakur.
And so we not only we have this intention of I want to purify all these negativities, but that itself is just words. So it's not enough to just say, oh, may all my obscurations be purified. So we actually have to, it has to really come from the bottom of our hearts. So really sincerely, from deep within, we have to confess and purify them. And then that's how they become purified. So, and if it comes from really a sincere, genuine place, then any kind of negativity, any kind of negative deed can become purified. For example, any transgression of a vow, for example, the Pratimoksha vows, or the precepts of the Bodhisattvas, or the Vajrayana Samaya, any transgression can become purified if one really confesses them with a sincere mind from the bottom of one's heart. For example, when the Buddha was alive, there was this disciple, Angulimala, who first killed 999 people. And in the end, finally, he regretted and he confessed and he purified all of his negativities and he became an arhat. And also when the Buddha was alive, there was a king called Ajatashatru, and he first was a ruthless warrior, killing many people, but then in the end he regretted, he felt remorse, and finally he purified all of his negativities. So even such great negative actions can become purified. And so therefore also we can purify our negativities if we confess them, lay them aside with remorse. And so it is said that the main practice to purify these negativities is called the applying the antidote of the 4 powers. So through the 4 powers, we have to confess and purify our negativities. So this term antidote is something that destroys, eliminates our negativities. It is an antidote, is like a potent remedy. For example, the remedy for sickness, disease is medicine, or the remedy for cold is heat or warmth. And so similarly, the 4 powers of confession they are the remedy to purify all of our negativities and obscurations. And so these 4 powers are to feel remorse, to have a commitment to the power of remorse, the power of commitment to not again repeat those actions, the power of the antidote, and the power of the support. So in this way, we are able to completely lay aside, purify all of our negativities.
Penanga tamala repando chaya na pe tambo dikwa chapchimbo serwa mune sen madikchiri tandodina madikwa chimbochi simjin yin ngune nu se so tan de simjin yin nu se chapchimbo dikwa chapchimbo seyores yena dikwa teletini jupa chene tini shakpa chene tini ta gewa dun te nimpo gewa dun tini tama dikwa tane tini sungjo totin chan kompa tama top sungro was dikwa tae yores.
For example, Milarepa, in the beginning, he was a very sinful person, and he did a lot of negative things. He really caused actual harm to sentient beings, to their lives. So really what he did was many very grave sinful actions. But still, in the end, he regretted them and he confessed them and he practiced virtue as an antidote. And in the end, also he had purified all of these obscurations and he attained the unified state of the Buddha Vajradhara. So we can purify all of these obscurations.
Top yode ten tambo tela tene tinje top seyate ta ngangi hyakwan person do den ngagi dikba chapoji seyana ta dakba onge dikba ndreji seso sete ngagi hyakwan person yer telanga tinje top singana ta ne cha chimbo semeda ta sanje ge gozo sanje ge cha chimbo penna jo shakya mane tawa tene penna ne cha chimbo tene dorje din tawa tene bayogen chutin namsum tawa 다 데이터가 되니 띵짜치 분들은 내가 샤방배 빼는 가서 가곤도 있는 되니 중고 자나마도 되니 빼 짜침보 저거요 되니 데이터가 띵짜침보 되니 랑 소소 그 라마 짜침보 다 뜻인데는 되니 막 샤방배 가서 텔 띵치 톱 세기요아스 데인도 다른 거 저기 딱 샤방배서 띵조데 가르치는 랑 쪼로 본데 되니 도지선 바데 다른 띵지 조 샤방배서 띵 차베요레스.
So of those four powers, the first one is the power of support. And so the power of support is the one we direct our confession toward. So there's someone or some place we go and then we say, oh, I did this, I did these terrible things. So we confess it to someone, this object of confession. And so that can be a very holy place or a holy, like Buddha, a form, like a statue and so on, such as the Shakyamuni Chobo statue. Or it could be a very special, a precious place, a holy place like Bodh Gaya, for example, or those 3 holy stupas in Nepal. Or for example, in Gar Monastery, we have the precious prayer wheel called the Gyanagma that we consider very precious, or it could be one's own root guru, a precious lama. So when we go into their presence and then we offer a confession. And so that this object or this person toward whom we direct our confession is the power of the support. And so today our support toward whom we make this confession is the Buddha Vajrasattva, whom we meditate on top of our crowns.
이바데 다라 순진바 또 순진바스는 나게다 딕바세야 바텔레니 논트로세바 논트로 하코로와 당한 논트로 제송 삼 당도르드는 나게 딕바 차포치 사송 텔레디는 레 되게 레드티는 띵앙이 성수는 지기리 삼바 당도르드는 베 핫짱킨 주심침보 다 데이터버티니 제와텔레다라 순진바 또 딕반다고는 띠인라 찹상 창고리 이라차 마찬가 딕바ትን 다투요 말에 대인들이 따라 주셈들이 핫짱게다 딕발은 주바치야 되더니 핫짱게베 내가 침보레스 나제 딕바 콩도 도송다 뭐 찬지 전 유바 침비 샤스네 따라 데몬은 송유와시 마징게 딕바 탐지 때는 코도 송하나지 때는 유바든 직자다 한 논추 침보세 바더니 데이터 somtan다 베 유바 침부건 되니 샤고레스 다 기왕 누마에 딕바 망고 사요레 띵띵아서 사요레스 근데 다들 리딘들 소소 딕바 가레사나 som노 망보다 som노 땅도 옹에 다베 루주고네 딕반다 사소 ngāgi gōni dikwan dātā dātā bāsāsu, hīji gōni dikwan dātā dātā bāsāsu sā, tēnī tūsō tsō sēnāng kōr nē tēnī hākyāngi jūpa jē. Tēnī jūpa kōrēs, tēlā tēnī sōngjī tōbsi.
Then secondly, the second power is the power of remorse or regret. And so then next we have to recognize I did wrong. I made these mistakes. I engaged in it. I committed these really terrible, powerful sins. And as a result of such karma, I certainly will be born in the 3 lower realms. So thinking in this way, then you should cultivate a very strong sense of regret, really regret that. And so then in order to actually purify all of these misdeeds, all of the branches of confession have to be complete. If they're incomplete, then negativities will not be completely purified. So one branch, one condition is to feel as remorse. That's actually a very important point, to really regret, feel a very strong sense of regret. Of any negative things one has done. For example, in the aspiration prayer of Sukhavati, of Devachen, it says that I regret, one should regret one's misdeeds, just as if having eaten poison. If you have eaten poison, you will feel afraid and regret, and you recognize this was a huge mistake. So with such a strong regret, we have to confess. And then bring to mind all these negative things we have done. Surely in previous lives, we have done many negative things. And also in this life, you can bring to mind whatever negative things you have done, thinking about the things you might have done with your body or with your speech or with your mind. So bringing it all to mind, we need to develop a sense of very genuine regret. So that's the power of regret or remorse.
다 선바데 dombuto ju dombuto ni ju dombuto seate 다 도낭에 신체 도 딕바치기 면시 다 드랭에 딕바트는 주바치 배 샤바치요는 농초 참마 샤바치요레 신주바치네 샤바치 다 신체에 소로 밥이야 소로 밥이에 딕바트 남에 지기 면시 이제 소로 밥이 딕벨렌 남에면서 셈라 담자서 뭐와 배테 답더니 나 사와 카렌테서는 딕바치기 면시 신기기는 꾸티치기 면시 담자미나 담본 주바미나 딕바테 샤바치나 연다케요 말이야 대차도 되는 신체의 domsen 당의 신체 지기면서 담자되미나 양 딕바텐다 그요 말. 안테 되더니 신체 소로 밥이한테는 딕바레 먹게벌레 지기면서 되니 담자고 그래서 담자미나 딕반다 그 뭔도와 카장게 노티 공다 소리 라리근데 그요 맞다. 동부터니 되니 생부터니 담자시는 지기면서 다 되고 그래서
Then a third is the power of the commitment to not again repeat those actions. So that is to think that I will never do such wrong again. So first you need to recognize those misdeeds and really regret them. But then you should also think that I will not repeat those actions, even at the cost of my life. Even when it comes down to losing my life, I will never again engage in these negative actions. So it is said that even at the cost of my life, I vow to never again repeat those actions. So you think that no matter what I do, I will not do wrong and I will not harm others. So first, if you do not actually regret what you have done wrong, then the negativity cannot be purified. But also, if you do not have a sense of commitment to not again repeat those actions, then also those misdeeds will not become purified. So if if you sincerely regret, then you should also think that now, even at the cost of my life, I will not ever again engage in such non-virtuous actions. So it's important to also take this commitment. It's not enough to just say sorry and that's it, but it has to come from deep within. You have to regret and then also really commit yourself to not again repeat those actions.
다 이바데 님보 군도 쭉 도스는 다 도드는 디바 샤지기 님보 응으스더니 사와는 쭉바 그러와 아 페나 당하게 디바 샤안디 페나 아게 따라 다 소소게체 샤반부 산치야 되니 동샤안동야 놀로야 아 되니 겐동나 닝거지야 거송 툭딘인야 다 추딘인야 추딘을 꼬라자야 라스부터 개바 망보 여러봐 대청아 님보 공도 주부 톱 차거여레스 다 다른 값을 바발랑 나서 되니 도르지셈바 냠니 도르지셈바 그더니 미바 미그럼스는 하게 되니 하게 따라 찌름 sene migram sene teni duzum bejon la so ba se ya teni nimbo kondu chop top chag yores ta te ta teni top ye go ne teni dikpa te shapa che na teni dikpa te ni part nda tu yores dikpa ma da ba yung ma le teni ta yores so pe na nga so tara ji de song yore te lo ru ji de song yore tara munche ba mi pa la tene tene mageba drum tene ji tene ba da dimba chena pena sonchen debzi yin se tara konde hyin ba tara mate sonchen ji da tene tara te machi dala so pa te thamji ba mi ba gone dikpa se sinche ba da dimba chena tene dikpa ta thapa o te ta ba tene chone tene ma so top yu gone tene nyamni se na tene dikpa saman da yo re so.
And then the fourth power is the power of the antidote that we apply to purify our negativities. So that is we actually engage in an activity here to purify our negativities. So for example, that could be, there are many virtuous practices that we could do. For example, we could practice prostrations, or we can recite the confession of downfalls sutra, or any other sutra, and we can, for example, make offerings to the sangha, or we can build any holy objects of enlightened body, speech, and mind, such as a stupa, for example, or we can circumambulate a stupa. So all of these activities, these virtuous activities, are antidotes. And so today, in the context of the Vajrasattva practice, the antidote is the visualization, the generation stage of Vajrasattva, also consisting of the visualization of the nectar flow that flows down and purifies, and also the mantra recitation. So basically, through these four powers, we can surely purify all of our negativities and obscurations. Nagarjuna said that even in the past, one may have engaged in many misdeeds with unmindfulness. When that is turned around and later on one becomes mindful, then it can become purified, just like it was the case with, the stories you mentioned about Angulimala or the king Shatru. In the beginning, they were unmindful, engaged in many sins, and then later on, they developed mindfulness, heedfulness, and were able to purify all of their negativities. And so therefore, if we properly practice those four powers, then it is said we can purify all of our negativities.
다 dorje sempa ngana so ngus dorje sempa tene nyamni la tene jiram ke nang tene ma shigins tene ta jiram de la jitang de la tene la gom de tarang an ta ma la ta gom de gom ke tene jiram se ke nga jiram se jitang de desram pa yung ko yo was tene 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 kap ka pa la jiram de jitang manda wa kha kha ke do tene ne tene dorje sempa nyamne si tene dorje yichi tang choga simchi se ta jirim ni namba ni ge goni tini dorje sempa tini gon jirim chigo doas
And so then we come to the the generation stage, the actual practice or the visualization of Vajrasattva. So normally these stages of visualization, we visualize a deity is what we call the generation stage. And so today, the visualization of Vajrasattva has a few unique steps of visualization. So in general, there are two ways of visualizing Vajrasattva and like stages of generation. And these are referred to as the four Vajras generation, or the second one is called the three rituals generation.
ta ti jirim ko de tene tanga so ke byo ya mo do tene de tene nge kan shi kale kale ma sho yung gi tene chiran so thon de jamna de gi
So because today we have a good translator, I will slowly, step by step, go through the generation stage, and if you wish, you can also take notes.
다 다랑 안 so tini yong koran na ni pa dorje komden es rang ke chor pe ma da be chung ko ti ting to hung le dorje kar po cheng a ba te wa hung gen sim ba le won chuen pa pan chu sim jin je dong se chun du yong su je ba le dorje sim ba kum do kan re zin nyam ma hu ji ri pa ta kar wa ja je sa ni ji ye dorje cheng a ba to kan jin ba yung de ye wa se ba chho ko tin ba hyap si je jin je ba 다다 럼보치 진바사스 데 답지 다 산데고 송고요 하저다테 코소를 인테는 저기를 미드 드니 나나스 남주 훈로 산초 남자나나 따라 지름 디바요레 코닌 용이 타니워리 나온다고리도 되는데 드니 디드니 마치 로나 지란수티 자비 용데 지란수 하고양로 지차요레스
ambunga ti gyogore
다르게 지나 좋다서베
to sare.
아야
So first, so I'm now reading from this text, Dhammakirti Shalom. So it says here for the visualization of Vajrasattva, it says first you should visualize above your crown a lotus and a moon disc, and on top of that you visualize a hung syllable, which transforms into a white 5-pronged vajra, at the center of which is a hung syllable, and then from this light radiates and it makes offerings to all the Buddhas and accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings, and then the light gathers back, and then this vajra transforms into Vajrasattva, whose color is white like a snow mountain, and like luminous, like he's luminous like the sun, and he has one face and 2 arms, and in his right hand he holds a 5-pronged vajra held at the heart level, and in his left hand he holds a bell at his waist, and his legs are in the cross-legged vajra posture, and he's adorned with silks and jewel ornaments. And so that was from the main text, but then the visualization is briefly explained in our sadhana, the excellent path to enlightenment. where the visualization is a little bit more brief, but in essence, it is actually quite similar.
There's a lot not just
So that's on page 30 in the sadhana. Pattern tower logo
you get the Zudena and the lawyer not chome.
Oh yeah. Ngage.
Lawyer gang.
Okay. So on page 30, the visualization then says, on the crown of my head, upon a seat of lotus and moon, appears a white hung. The brilliant light emanating from it pleases the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, gathers their knowledge, love, and power, and dissolves back into the hung. Once again, light emanates to the abodes of the 6 classes of beings, purifies their impure karmic perceptions, self-grasping, and habitual tendencies, and gathers back into the hung. The hung then transforms into the guru, who embodies all Buddha families in the form of Vajrasattva, clear and white, endowed with the ornaments of a Sambhogakaya, in his right hand holding a vajra of awareness emptiness at the heart level, and in his left a bell of appearance emptiness at his hip. His legs are crossed in half vajra posture, and he abides within a circular rainbow sphere.
Homer Dorjisimba Sunday, Rani Aratama Lu, the Ranjachi, Tini Rang Jubizo Nitaran, Chokans and Tadidi, like what's saying, Jumotini, Zuzi, part the Chokan like Judanta 1 feet of tea inside it. Roa, Ya Jubizo Nitaya, Tinipa, there's a Chipa Yago Paru. Tini Paru Ya, Tini. Titena tini range pam karpoche sante tini parka pote kiki tini nenjone tini pema kar sama jepachi pema marbo maimba serbo maimba karbo karkyang pema karpo dama jepachi chapung sante pema karpo te tendo tini achi sante ati yang kiki to ud shone tini dawa racho dawa Dona tini pema tente dawati dina yiji ko pema ti chechong kang yu pa dina yi tini dawati chechong kunin rao yu depa. Ta te tabache tini sande kudus.
So for the visualization here, Vajrasattva, so you visualize yourself, you see yourself just as you are now in your ordinary body. And then above your crown, you visualize Vajrasattva. And so it is about an arm's length, which is probably about a foot above your crown, so not exactly on your crown, but about a foot above your crown, so a little bit higher. First, you visualize there's a white balm syllable, and that transforms in an instant into a white lotus flower with 8 petals. So not red flower, not any kind of different color flower, as a white lotus flower with 8 petals. And then on top of that lotus appears the syllable A, which in an instant melts into light. And then that becomes the moon disk. So then you have a lotus seed and the moon, on top of that, a moon disk. And the moon disk and the lotus seed are of a similar size.
And
then on top of that is a white hung syllable. So it's a completely white hung syllable.
Chuga song nani tini ti hong kar pochi tini cha lam se tenga ge te sa te pa te tini song yin de chuga tangbo tini lu da tini te ki la nen ju ne tini ya dorji kar pon jo dorji kar po te wala tini hong kar pochi yo pa san de bo da tini te la nga so tuk san sing chuga ni ba tsang ge da
Sorry. So then we have mentioned before, there is this a 3-step visualization called the 3 rituals. And so in this context here, the first ritual, first step is the white hung syllable. So we visualize the white hung syllable and completely clear. That's step number 1. And then that transforms in an instant. And that's then transforms into this in the second visualization, which is the implement, which is the white vajra. So it turns into a white vajra that has white hung syllable at its center. So that is called the second step. Sorry, the implement, which is a representative of the heart or the mind, the enlightened mind.
Dola ngaki tu na ma ta dorji karpo tewala hongin simpati yowa ta ti tsaw yongnan karisong tele un tu phapa chu ji don se yore ta ti dorji tewa hong tele the part mi pan tu ngata the part mi pan tene tene so jure yobatini sanje ta sanjo sabatam chela ya chuba ko tene te thamji ko tsin lab yang tele tsoro ko dorji tewa hong tele tem tene simkinji 동세세 대 양 어전투네 심기 탐 제일 로아르도 심기 탐질 어저대 포 어저대 포는 로아르도 심기 탐지가 득점이 또 탐지 파다네 tene 심바다 스마르 저 대답에 tene 상방도 tene 어저대 다 천두네 천두네 천두 센도 천두네 용서 제발에 도제 심바금도 가는 거고 단 너드네 tene 어저대 천 son doing the so doing it any dorji tewa hong the table any kiki gelatini dorji simba chapung sande poda
So then you have visualized at your crown, then there is this white vajra that has a white hung at its center. so then so in the main text, then it says, so then light radiates from that. And so then that light makes offerings to all the Buddhas and accomplishes the benefit of beings. So inconceivable light streams out and it makes offerings to all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. And it gathers back their blessings, which then dissolve into the hung at the center of the Vajra. And then again, light rays radiate, and now they accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. So now the light rays, they touch all the sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara and purify all of their obscurations and their negativities and all of their downfalls. And then think that they all become male and female bodhisattvas. So then the light gathers back, and then in an instant, this Vajra with the hung then transforms into a Vajrasattva, white and brilliant.
rangi tene chu chu tene dorji sembate ngo rangi tsawal lama impata namba dorji sembate tawti tene sande bore te taw sarthena tene tara semba choga semba ko yongsu chuga se ta ten tene tanaman rubi res ten choga sum sene ngaran so yuai song ying de choga to sansing song ying de choga sen hong siliba de ying zhe to sansing choga sen dorji semba sala zungyo dorji te taw dorji to sansing choga tene ko yongsu zogo choga sen de tene ko dorji semba chalam satheba ta tele tene choga sem tene jene tene satheba doas.
So when you visualize Vajrasattva and above your crown, appearing as Vajrasattva, but having the nature of your own root guru. So this completes the visualization of the 3 rituals. So again, the first one is the speech ritual, which is the seed syllable and here it is the syllable hung. Second is the mind ritual, which is the implement, which is the vajra. The Vajrasattva holds a vajra in his hand as an implement. And then the third ritual is the ritual of body, of form, which is then the complete appearance of the deity's form.
다가 디 도지 기지요. 도지 기지 때는 소 도지 심바. 낭 도지 심바. 상와 도지 심바. 대코나니 도지 심바 시에도 이용 거래. 이어가 나니 드니 소 도지 심바 히바 당랑 주비조도 라마 도지 심바 드니 차라메 사테바데 드니 소 도지 심바. 자창 그 유레스.
And so then the second way of visualizing is, as we said, called the generation of the four vajras. And that's also related to different aspects of Vajrasattva, the outer, inner, secret, and the suchness, Vajrasattva. The outer Vajrasattva is the clear appearance of the guru in essence and Vajrasattva in appearance above your crown.
다 도지 선바더니 육당대 되니 저당 안에서 다 빠르는 지야 여러분 금도 땅 진차로 그 진차로 저쪽 가서 살아 남주 빠나나 요빠나 이때 따버더니 사탄은 이렇게 여래 되니 협들 협 시절스야 제당 협 조정스야 니용도 되는 안에서 혼로 다라 나한테 되니 시절이 돼요 다라 어디 담아서 샬롱 시절이도 안초 남자 시절이도 되는데 제발 싫어요 말이지 교관들을 위해서
니가 시동으로?
니가 시절이
So then in terms of the posture of his legs, we can see it in our image. It's very clear. So the image shows the whole deity. You see the deity's color and the ornaments and the implements and so forth. So we can visualize it just as we see it on the image. There's two ways of visualizing the leg posture. So sometimes he sits in a half crossed posture, and then sometimes in a full crossed posture. So here in our text, the Dharmakirti Shalom, and also in our sadhana, the path to enlightenment, it is the half crossed vajra posture.
Koran yong na no la tin kuji chalo tu song do tene kumdo karpo tene kumdo karpo pe hajang karpo gangrul pe gangrul tene nyama han tene karpo yin ba tene telen dang do din ba wa pe te ta ba tene kumdo karpo yarje sani na tene dorje te choba 진대 받더니 사이에 빠르게 도지 토kal은 진 봐. 용배 여와 저거처럼 걸었는데 봐. 협시절 전도. 근데 다들은 뭐지 체지 진 봐. 다르스는 안가라서 다라 롱주도 그 진체 쭉섬 세계래. 롱주주 진체 쭉섬 진인데 봐. 롱보치 진제 다지 체가스 너는 쭉섬 그 진인데 봤더니 현점당대 din 봐. 대답이 다 산대 거다.
So in our the root text, it says it explains very clearly how to visualize the body and the implements and so on. So it says in the text that Vajrasattva's color is white, and it is completely white, like a snow mountain that has the sun shining on it. So he has this radiance, brilliance of whiteness. And he has one face and two arms. In the right hand, he holds a vajra at the heart level, and in the left hand he holds a bell at the hip level, and then he's adorned, so it says, with silks and jewels. So there are these 13 Sambhogakaya adornments, which are 8 jeweled ornaments and 5 silken ornaments. And then also you should visualize him with the legs in the half crossed posture.
다 럼보치 진체 쭉선 센드 드니 시다 인터널에다 도르제 파나 라소 발레트니 쳬퍼트니 럼보치 우진 민진 거진 뿡진 사드 샤드 소드 도샤르세모토 다데 따부트니 진체 진 럼보치 진제 모두 아시 드니 tuyo meyo correct chupi de tarjangte nga ngo dombe chuksum jinchi chuksum si wata torjo rambasam de jor jingba
So those are 13 adornments of a Sambhogakaya. So the jeweled ornaments, we should think of them as like made of gold and like lapis lazuli and diamonds and things like that. And so those jeweled ornaments are his crown ornament and his earrings and bracelets and wristlets and anklets, and then there's different like levels of bracelets. There's like a longer and medium length and the shorter one, and then so there's those 8 jeweled ornaments, and then there is 5 silken ornaments, which are the robes covering his upper body, his lower body, and his entire kind of around his body, his belt, and there are some silken ribbons, and also a crest ornament.
다 대다우당아 비지름 담비고요. 와스 탑 아지르삼 담비 그니 남중아 다 지름들 인라가 세지인고요. 다때 빼는가 침보요거래. 다랑아 좋더라. 플라카와 곰바이나 디지름 인라가 된 남중이고요. 근데 지름 인라가 때 담보텔라 가르스나 남바 사르와스 남다 팀바스 ngajat timbas ngo tongba rahi yemi setting atita tini nga so te lagom de inji mi te nga hakko go res ting atongda.
And so this is how we should visualize the generation stage, and so for the generation stage also there are 5 branches that are extremely important, and we certainly should understand them when we visualize a deity, because they are really kind of applied to any deity practice. And so these 5 are: number 1, the clear visualization; number 2, the recollection of purity; number 3, firm pride or divine pride; number 4, the empty essence, and number 5 is the natural indivisibility. So these 5 we certainly need to understand.
다 number 4와 세인데 다 나도 들은 사 만나서 들은 거면 도지 심바를 바랑 규조로 곰데 되네 도지 심바 라마 도지 심바도 곰데 되네 빼 그진 차로 뱀 단도드는 뱀마 나와 진차로 쳤자 근데 살고 나그 사태바들 넘버 4와 세 다 던지산 데인데 레라오요 말봐 레라오 미인데 드니 담보 뱀만로 곰 뱀마사보 산데 드니 다완로 드니 샵도지 쪼종로 샵시전로 드니 그진 차로는 파 인데 야산데 드니 야 마사탐나 초기요사리 근데 야만로 드니 나게 담보 남주 빨려야 보다 빠르다 탕카 라소바다서 가래 라빨 가래 정도 zubo cái năm chưa cần được cái chỗ ya bộ ta thế này tiền ngài cái make zum này thế này xem là sát thực được xem là sát thực này thế này để chịu cái gòn cái này sát thực mà đàn thế này thế là bên là lạc phải ba gòn thôi mà lạc phải ba năng cái đôi gì thế này thế thì đôi gì thì cao 정도 cái số sao nó để cái tăng thế này đôi thì ngài cái ta 서로 xem là hạ cổ thấp ba thế này sát thực được xem là sát thực được thế ta thế này chịu cái chỗ là gon de ni sapo tele ta number sawas ta la sapo gon ta bari ta tele tambo number sawa gon ta ba
So the first one is the clear visualization. And so now today we are visualizing Vajrasattva. So you first visualize clearly above your crown Vajrasattva, having the nature of your guru. And you visualize all of the different parts of the deity, the body and the implements and the ornaments and so on, and then the seed of lotus and moon and so on. And of course, to visualize all of that is not so easy. So you can just visualize first in stages. So first visualize, for example, the moon disk really clearly. So the lotus really clearly, and then the moon disk on top of that. And then you focus on different body parts of Vajrasattva. For example, you're sitting in half crossed posture or a full crossed posture. And so then you can visualize either direction too. So you can make your way up you start from the bottom and then build your way up. And then you can also visualize from the top down and so on. So you can visualize in all of those different ways. And look at a picture of the deity like a tanka and really look very carefully. How does he look like? What is he holding in his hand? What are his adornments? And then close your eyes and try to have this image appear in your mind. And then again, as you visualize, again, go through the particularities, like what is he holding in his hand, in his right hand? So he's holding a vajra. And where is he? How is he holding it at the heart level and so on? So he goes through each of these steps individually and really bring it to mind. So it really appears in your mind. So this is what we call the first step, the clear visualization of the deity.
ni pa namda timpa sigare ta namda timpa sena tene tara la kumdo tene la kujin chalo tso kon shigore namda timpa sena la kumdo de kujin chalo kare ina de so nang gi yongding tan tene la pando gi yongding ge tene namba de sala tene chak yore sten chunzi yin sungor da pena lomju zobo jinche chuksum do jinchen chuksum de zo tene chuksum dorjin zin patene kompang thopan chumbal tene ti darangaran so lomju zobo jinche chuksum sewa pe tina yi tene yon desna tene ti jinche to yon nang yon ti sar cha yon go res tene te ha ko go te ha ma o ina tene ngaran so daran namju la tene ya lag kujin chalung ramana tungudwa tani lakaki hyadang chia zai rawa lakaki penna ta tara kondu shibana majiri tani dorje phalan si la so bat so lak tani ujin chalu so gole la budwa tani nga chun chamza te so yun ti jimchin ra ma hin tani nga chamza ya gare ina sa te chong ra wa ta lo tan ra wa ta to so ji ya ke ni kha yore de indu tani ti namda thimba se ya ti go yores ngaranzu ji lagi dara ujin de ninjin to sotene seita dorje phalan to sotene jin ga jo to ta jin de si indi pen ngaranzu ko chamsa kwan de ling do ngaranzu namju pen si ke thapa dorje phalan ngaranzu tene chajin zu ji amchol ta ya la so bang so ji ge yo jo yin jo to soke den ro ji yin ro samsa yang ka ge de cho zo bu sin den yin ro samsa ngaso den sang ko yo ro wa den rang ri bu do so the number the ngo ndago yo mare tene ngaran so ta de de nga jincha ta chiran je chenbo ina dorje phala si tene yang ngor tene sang ta ko re ran pa yin ta kong ya jin ya ta ya luksu ji yo ro de nga so chi jin sam de ma to tele yung tin kang ya yo mare flag ku jin chalo to so ko yung nang ge yung tin de sala pando ge yung tin tham ji ma son charing yores namda timba sen pena tara dorje sembatini harji se do dorje sembalatini kumdo hingo jig getini chugut tibe nyak kim sumbasan harji se tani 뇨모 드바 탐게레 다 송스는 되니 금도 깔보 되니 탑히니 저 줄에 용티 조데스나 되니 사니 동남딘바 온즈딘바 딘바니 소지
So then for the recollection of of purity, so that the deity appears in a certain way. So it has a certain color and implements and ornaments and so on. And all of these are an outer representation of inner qualities in the deity's mind. The qualities of the deity's like renunciation and realization are expressed in the form of these various adornments and symbols. So they are symbolic expressions of the deity's inner qualities. So these 13 adornments of Vesambhogakaya represent the state of like this, the 13th level of Vajra holder. So all of these, we need to understand that each part of the deity is a symbolic of an inner quality in the deity's mind. So if we don't understand that, then we see all kinds of deities with all kinds of different implements. For example, there are some deities with a wide open mouth and with bared fangs, or other deities that have ornaments, jeweled ornaments of gold and diamond and so on. And so if one doesn't really understand the significance behind those symbols, then one might really wonder, what that all really means. And then there is a danger that one develops doubts and wrong views. And that's why we need the recollection of purity. So for example, a deity is adorned with a crown ornament of gold and diamonds and so on. So then we might see it in an ordinary way. So also we, for example, when we wear jewelry, we wear diamond rings or earrings and so on. And so we think that, oh, this is maybe what it is. Maybe it's just some kind of jewelry, or maybe it's just to accumulate merit, but that's also not exactly what it is. So each part of the deity's appearance has a great significance to it. It's not the same as how we use precious metals and jewelry. So for example, if you're rich, a little richer, you might wear a diamond jewelry, and then it goes down in stages, or less rich, gold or silver or copper and so on. So we think of these precious metals as some kind of jewelry. We have a tradition of seeing them that way. So that's what they are to us. They are nothing else but ornaments. But this is not really what it is for the deity. So ornaments in themselves have no special qualities, but the ornaments of the deity actually represent enlightened qualities of the deity's mind, of the deity's renunciation and realization that express themselves in an external way. So for example, Vajrasattva has one face, and that is a sign of the single sphere of the Dharmakaya. And the white color, for example, is symbolic of having completely purified all afflictive emotions, all negativities, all obscurations. And the two hands are symbolic of the having unified method and wisdom in the deity's mind stream, and also therefore being representative of the relative and the ultimate truth.
Then 사이게 되니 도르지도 저번진데 봤더니 되니 탑신이 총파 되니 까보 게베 추죠 되니 랑이 조버스는 되니 오자 토조 오자 도르지스 오자 토조 징데요 오자 토조 징바 tene zongzi ba jani ba trahin ba rizan ja balas ta yonti doyong a yonti yorwa te thamche ma pang ba yi shi ji jin de ro ba sunna tene rombo ji jin je ta tu sun chungzi yong nang yonti chungzi le tene sa ta te ta
So the Vajra and the bell held in his two hands represent method and wisdom, and so then the whiteness is the whiteness of the virtuous actions, and then so the top knot, his at his crown, his hair is bound up into a top knot, and that represents the a virtuous state of mind, a virtuous activity. And so then the various ornaments, the 8 jeweled ornaments represent are a display of primordial wisdom, which is also a sign of not having to abandon the 5 sense objects, but having them appear as the display of primordial wisdom. So in any case, all of these symbols are inner qualities showing the inner qualities of the deity's mind in the form of an external representation.
Shirap sipan thalam mane pata, ninji hiwan thalam mane basana tani habdor di chotong so yode pa. Ta dor dene hab sija yina yan dike yojire samado. Tani nyomo ba kobu chungji magi ba sumpasana tani pema. Nyomo ba chadong sabasana tani dabadi.
And then as a sign, also his physical posture of his legs, so it's either the full crossed posture or half crossed posture, represents the fact that he does not abide in the extreme of, so with wisdom, he does not abide in this extreme of samsaric existence, and with compassion, he does not abide in the extreme of the peaceful state of nirvana. And then the lotus flower is a sign of not being stained, tarnished by the flaws of samsara and the afflictions. And then the moon is a sign of dispelling the heat, the torment, that kind of the tormenting heat of the afflictive emotions.
Ta te ta tini kujin chalo kumdo sansi tamdi tini nangi yongtin tukju yongtin tini sorin chabde tini damchung yin ba ha kona tini tela namda timbas tini te ha mawa ina di yongtin di ha nengan ro di ha mawa na tini nga te tesichi nondu yo sari namda timba minas tini te tesichi nonne jinta chalo sarje chang klane ranju par ko khala jubor kinje layan jungbo riks ko se dan dor dina lag kujin chalo de so yongtin yin ba ha mawa chena tini ta ngara tesichi chezo ko kujin chalo sarbo chiran chiram sarbo sar tepu yo na ya tene nang yongtin de ha mao sa de tene yadal che ya ni kha yo re se ga
So we need to understand that each of the body parts of the deity, the color and the implements and the ornaments and so on, all of them are outer representations of the inner enlightened qualities of the deity's mind. So to understand that is to recollect purity. And if one doesn't understand that, if one doesn't understand this crucial point, if one doesn't understand that these are actually just symbols of representing the deity's qualities, then one will go astray, and 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 one will go in one's practice. So then it is said that even though you might visualize the deity clearly, if you do not understand, if you do not have this crucial point of recollection of purity, then the deity that you're visualizing becomes ordinary. And then there's a danger that as a result of that, you take birth as a hungry spirit.
다 이 차로 용디도 십차 하마오장 라 그진 건도 산지진 차로 탐지 오 라게다 난게 용딘 탑的 시라 탑히 연미 되네 반도그 용딘 탐지 용수존에 되네 탑히게 되네 심진게 돈도 되네 더다버지 나와리 삼네 대답을 삼나타나야 되게 요래서.
And so even if you don't really know exactly the quality, what each of these qualities represent, so what each of the ornaments or the color and the implements represent, even if you don't know that in detail, if you just know that they represent enlightened qualities of the deities, just know that, for example, they represent the deity's method and wisdom and all the perfect qualities of renunciation and realization, and they appear for the sake of sentient beings. So if you just know that fact, then that's actually fine.
Somebody ngajar timba sigidoa ngajar timba sendi chuta hana ngahanzata ngajar seyat nyomo ba ngagnan ti imba ko panza imba se ngajar ti kadina panza yin ngadal ngajar latini tini megeva mambo sakayorwas yena ya trenga so kiram gomdi tini ngajar seyate ta namju ngana so nyomo ba ngajar ti mares trenga ngajar ti karesina ngāki chūbi tsōkta tēne tēne ngā gōmsa chūbi tsōla dōrji sīmba gōngu yorā dōrji sīmba tēne yō yō sāmba tā tē ngā la yīchī tā dīngsē yō pā yō tā yō mārī tē yēnā yō sām gōlē sām sūna tā nōndō rī tēne tā tēne nī gōma tā yō bā tā chū dē pā chūbi tsōla dōrji sīmba ngūsi ngā kī tā dik chūb jāyā tēne la yō dē yō sāna tā chū nā sēm nā ngā jā tīmbā sī tēne tā tī chīmbō rī.
So then the third is the divine pride. And so generally speaking, pride is one of the 5 afflictive emotions and something to be abandoned. Because of pride, we accumulate a lot of negative actions, non-virtues. But the pride we are talking about here today in the context of the generation stage, the visualization of the deity, is not the afflicted kind of pride. The pride we're talking about here is a confidence of thinking, knowing that Vajrasattva really actually is above my crown. So you fully trust in that. You have confidence in that. So you're not thinking, so he's not really there, but I should imagine that he's there. So if you think that way, then that's actually a little mistaken. So you have to make up your mind and fully trust he is there. So when you have this confidence, then this is how you then actually purify. So you have confidence that he actually purifies all your negativities and obscurations. So this kind of pride, a divine pride, is very important.
When chirang chubizolo dorjes mandugdasna or yuri samsam tel kanya hangma sangwa yuri samsam chirang regdoa samsan rochi ta tendich chirang semla yona ta timbo chade res
Mishemba ke kirana lama
unen do re lane chirang hang sando chena ta chirang tadong ting ting chirang tesom yore da yore sanghachi gorda.
So the kind of confidence you should have is that if a person tells you, oh, Vajrasattva sits above your crown, then you wouldn't feel like surprised or like what? You would, because if you would feel surprised, then there would be some doubts in your mind. You wouldn't be so sure. But you would think that, yes, of course, definitely, there would be no surprise. You're just, it's like completely like kind of natural, he's there. So that's the kind of stability you need.
Pena marpa losa tendiji yodo de teni korang ka loma tamchi cham cham teni marpa losa ma thonga che cham cham chu cham cham me cham cham teni kolo dem cham cham dorjen phamo ndamaran tungudo loma tamchi teni tate teni loma tamchi kareri teni chiran tungu mudon cham cham teni yadang kala tsun tungudo labi o ri kong cham cham teni kong yadam kala li jirum ngana kong yugu yore son teni chiran so le je pa ta din tong tu yore son teni doa sin nam thana
uh, in the stories, it says in Marpa's life story, it says Marpa Tsava that in one of the stories it says that sometimes his disciples would not see Marpa as Marpa. Sometimes they would see something else, like they would see water or fire, or they would see Chakasamvaram, or they would see Vajrayogini. They would see all kinds of things, and so then they would ask him, like, sometimes we don't see you. I don't see you, but instead I see a Yidam deity. And then he would reply, oh yes, because in this moment I'm resting in the visualization of that Yidam deity. And if your karmic obscurations are purified, that's when you actually can directly see that.
Yipa de tini ngo tongba se ta ngaran su ta la gon tini ta chi dogdo shata le chubde ba tendre ma yin ba ngo tongba tongya ne yu den jo ngo tongba yin ba go res pe na ngaran su tini sa ta kunda ta tangka la so ba so ta kunda ne dogdo le tangka ne le le yin tongya yo ba o zoptan de de wa sa tendre je dogdo le chubde ba ma yin ba yang tangka na yin ma yin ba Chudang also Manai, Rava, Zopta Manai. Kujin Chalo Lina, Yena Zopta Chion Rotan, Mergana, Yendo Yodepa. Rava, Yena de Tumba, Kuli de Tumba, Uchi Lu. The Regis at the Gores, more Tumba. Upo the Chub de Patendus and Time, Mares.
Then number 4 is the empty essence, the empty nature. So that is when you visualize the deity, you shouldn't see the deity as some kind of material thing, like a substantially created, established thing, for example, made of flesh, blood, and bones. The deity appears, but is empty of substantial nature. So we can see the deity, but it still lacks any substantial nature. For example, when we have a statue of a deity, it's like a solid material thing, or a tanka is a flat level thing. So it's nothing like that. It's not like a solid thing like a statue or a flat picture like a tanka. It's basically just like a person, like in a 3-dimensional way appearing, but not like flesh, blood, and bones. So appearing just like a person, not flat like a tanka, but then also not substantial, but rather like a light body and an empty body. So lacking any kind of a concrete or substantial material existence. So that's the empty essence.
Tate kandreje sande gorsena ta pe goni ngana sortini sande ta de labu yore pe goni pe de ta juma pe samsi juma pe san ta kandreje la de gonde tini ngo tongba de kandreje sande gorsena pe samde tini juma pe samsi nangla ra yimi ba melong nang de zungni ta bos kong la thopa me ba chanang ge da ba ta bos sala chapa me ba panagin japsu ta bos ta no de pe te ta bchi maso ta pe te ta bchi san ta hi gores ta tambo te pe tambo te nang la na yi me ba melong nang ge zungni se na ta nga ra chu nam ju melong na zungni cha ke yo ro ba melong na zungni cha ke yo ndu 멜로나는 nga kare chena pin chigido pen tarang nga ju tab de zong na non dang e ke che shege yona chena su nge ke che shege dang thong do wa pe ti na yire ngen goyo kare chi nga gemo ja go yona ri nga zu pong go ja go yona ri samman thong tu do as yine chena zo nga thog go san thug thug mo do nang ge yore de thug thug yo ma pe te da melona go zung hin ta go si Kibari nga to TV na no ni ni ta den pe yama mama bon ro de ba ta le ka chi de ba ndam ren thung yo te o tena mar pe tala ya pu chi do nge te nyo do nga te go do sa lang lo ni yam do thong lo thong yan do was pe ta na ya yo res yena yung po tu ko yo ma res
So, how can we, you know, kind of visualize, kind of bring to mind to understand this empty essence in the practice? So it is said that we do that through, there are three similes or kind of illustrations of illusion, the illusory nature. So number one is that it appears, so the deity appears, and yet lacks inherent existence, substantial existence, just like a reflection in a mirror. So first is the reflection in a mirror. Second, the deity appears unobstructedly, and yet is not really there, just like a reflection of a moon and
ko mo do chiran ke
So we lost Ina. Let's wait for a while for her to rejoin again.
need patience
okay, so I think I'm back now. I'm sorry. So should I start? Should I start over again?
Yes, please, Ina.
Yeah, okay. So the way in which we should think of, kind of practice these, the empty essence is by way of three similes, or three examples of illusion, of which the first one is that the deity appears and clearly yet lacks any substantial existence, just like the reflection in a mirror. And secondly, it appears unobstructedly and kind of all in an all penetrating way, like a moon, a reflection of the moon in water. And then thirdly, its appearance is clear and vivid like a rainbow in the sky. So regarding the first one, the reflection in a mirror. So anything can be reflected in a mirror. For example, we're having this Zoom call. We see each other on the screen. So on the screen, you can hear me talk and you can see me smile. You can see my body movements. You can see all of that. But then if you want to touch me, you can't. I appear to you, but still I'm ungraspable. Just like a reflection in a mirror. Or for example, when we see a film on TV, we see actual people and those people do things. And then, for example, if you see a really nice object in that film, in the movie, you think that I really want to have that, I want to buy that. You can't take it out of the TV. It's you can see it, but you can't have it. It's not there. So it's just like that. The deity appears clearly, but then also it lacks any substantial existence.
Ni pe ni pa de kanga thodo mi ba chanang ge dazok tawas pen chin na nano le tini nangkhan dawa khan de tini chanang la dawa yo re was chanang dawa ti mana chanang dawa chi yo re ta ngaran so o ta chanang dawa ndo sa ne ti dawa te ya ling go sa na ling thwe yo mare zong go na zong ya yo mare ta mando la go na thong ya yo re ko u yo re 망보 따나 맥 차야 근데 코랑 여 was 여데 안도 자나 야리냐 만도 was 야 지랑 기 치초고서는 쳐야만도 토 강나 토독 미 봐서 토고 만도 was 아 천ang 게 다속 다거스 다슬라 공데 가기 쭉 쏠로 된 도르데 셈바 공데 되니 뭐 동바스 야 될라 거 공데 거 대답지 공고레스 천ang 게 다속
And then the second example is that of like unobstructed or kind of ungraspable too, like the reflection of a moon in water. For example, at nighttime and the moon is shining brightly, you can see the reflection of the moon in water. So it's actually there. But if you think that, oh, there's the moon, I want to take it, then it's not really there. You can't really take it. You can't really touch it, the actual moon. It's just a reflection. But then it still is just like the moon because you can see it very clearly. It can be blinding to your eyes. It's so brilliant and luminous. So if somebody would say it's not there, that's not the case because it's so brilliant and clear. It's there. But then if you want to grasp it, you hold on to it, there's nothing there again. So it's in a way immaterial, insubstantial in that way. So it's there, but not there. So just like the deity Vajrasattva on your crown, in essence, he's empty, but he's also there. So you visualize him, you see him with all his brilliance, but then like the reflection of the moon in water, in essence, he's really empty.
Ape somebody tini sala tapa me panha kin jamsu tawo so tini dor December tini ko gom de tini kumdo kasala ka masala mar tini ko jin chalo tam ji tini wata tan je ba tam ji chapung sipon je ya yoram jamsu na yi pe sipon je ya yores yena ya pe na nga jamsu de pe ya po do sa nga kin jamsu de so zong nga ji nya cha si gu do 야만 도로지 조고사나 잠sun 차야 조야 강야문도 통야 요리데 조야문도 비티나지 도르디셈바 그진 차로도 제바 차풍 시봉하고 산 탭투부 요리데 얘네야 우보 제레 진 마드바 제레 마드바 인디 똥바니 그조 인디 데니 빼 쳐조고로 잠sun나이 지네더니 샤다 차레 트바 마이 제레 트바 마이 우보레 트바 마이 근데 대 따버지 되네 살을 접하면 반난 잡수 따버든 도대sem바 우절루 우지 풍부 단 너드는 우지 풍부 따 대 따버산데 버레스 단 너드는 다 뭐동바 세야다 나는 저 라공데 되네 라데 치마는지 저도 우보던 치마는지야 요 말은 라데 라데 라이지 마르바 rangi ji ma ba yina nang ya yo ba te tap ji kong go ya stand on.
And then third is that a deity appears clearly defined, just like a rainbow in the sky. So clearly defined is that there's, for example, where there's white, it's completely white, and where there's red, it's red, and so on. So the colors and the ornaments and the implements and the hair, the top knot, and all of that is very clear. You can see it very clearly like a rainbow in the sky. But still, you can't say, oh, this is a nice rainbow. I want to take it and keep it. Or I want to take it and make a nice dress out of it. We can't do that, but you can still see it. So just like that, you see Vajrasattva's form very clearly, but then yet it lacks any material substantial existence. It's an empty form, like a rainbow. It's not composed of flesh and blood or any other material substance at all. So it appears clearly but lacks any material substance. It's a light body, a mass of light. So that's how you should visualize it, or kind of conceive of this empty essence. So you can see the actual form of the deity as it really is very clearly, and yet it lacks any true existence. So we shouldn't cling to it thinking that there's a true thing there. It doesn't have such a nature. Even though it doesn't have such a nature, it still can be there and appear very clearly.
Ka nga pa rangi yenmi se ta te rangi yenmi se ndu ta rangi ke gom du ji la do ji sem ba ta gom pa po ta rangi ke gom go yo ra nga rangi yenmi pa chi gom go res te ne ga chim bo re ta nam ju nga so chi class na kha yin pa nga sa na kha yin pa ni pa ru yo go yo ra ten ma yin pa nga gom du ji la ta gom khin nga ni chi pa yin pa te la rangi yenmi se.
And then number 5 is number 5 is the indivisible nature, and so that is the deity Vajrasattva that you visualize, and you who visualizes you both are inseparable, indivisible, and that's really important, a crucial point. Because normally we tend to think that I'm separate from the deity, but really that's not the case. Actually, the deity that we visualize and yourself, you really are inseparable by nature.
Gomde ta chapuin gomdo yati dorje sembari gomking ang semge zero wa dona te rang ki semge ta nancha rang ki semge tsar dendi ji cha de yore ma to shinkham yin ba je ni tini dorje semba le yo nga chu zo le de ba tende ma yin ba nga ki semge tsar le tini dorje semba de ta ba ji tini gomde tini nga do gom nga ra do dorje semba ni tini yen cha de ba yes. Tate pe yana andrido ngarange samno hinda pe hing ro ji yona hing de le me bar yong wa ina hing de le me bar yong ro ba hing de le me bar ndu ta hing de me ni ka ji gon ji tu gu mo do me de hing korang ni ba ji ri do hing korang me ni ba dang bo ni yo ndu jinji le tin de tani bar de me bar ba ina hing ni ba ri do pe tina yi ngara su sem ge dara digi nimbo se ya ji yo ba de ngara su klari se ya ji yo ba kan digi nimbo se de ge zalle tini ngara ge ta ji zu do ji sem ba zam dem ko yo ba se de sem ge zar ji ri ma tini lo sem lo se ba ji do ji sem ba cha ge yo ma es ta tel rang yi yin mi se ya den ri yin sa de es Tate nam yung ana so la ka du gom na te e rang yi yemi se te ni ba ha ko ge ne ga chim bo la da rang yi yemi ha ko de lo du song do as ngo bo lo du la ne rang ge semi des semi la yi zuk su sar sun de song yu do as
So the Vajrasattva, the deity that you visualize above your crown, is inseparable from you, indivisible. So even if you wanted to separate, you couldn't, because it's your mind, because it's your visualization. You visualize Vajrasattva. So this clear image of Vajrasattva above your crown arises from your mind, from the meditator's mind. So it's an appearance of your mind. And so therefore it is indivisible from you. It's like an expressive power, an expression or display arising from the expressive power of your mind. It's not the case that there is some kind of Vajrasattva somewhere else living in a pure land who comes here and then maybe merges with us indivisibly. But actually, to begin with, we are already indivisible naturally by our nature. For example, this is one example, which is like just my own example. It's just like wood and fire. If you set fire on wood, then the wood will turn into fire. And then you can't really separate the fire from the wood any longer. And that potential to burn, to be fire, is a quality that's inherent in the wood to begin with already. Because it has this quality, it can turn into fire. So therefore, its nature really is that. This potentiality is inherent within the wood. And so that is similar to our Buddha nature. And that Buddha nature is the deity. And then through this expressive power of Buddha nature, the display, the expression, which is Vajrasattva above your crown, then manifests. So it's nothing else but an expression of your own mind and nothing separate from yourself. That's this natural indivisibility. And that's an important point, because this is the case no matter what deity you practice. It's always important that you understand that by nature you are indivisible from the deity. Nagarjuna also has said that the deity is your own mind, and the deity appears, the form of the deity appears as an expression of your own mind, or your own mind manifests in the form of the deity.
Oh yeah, that day that we didn't go just batang the chalam rangi tu to the sun dem ni that lama dorje simbatini te getini chawa minsa la sanje thamji ji ko yin sum batini onkar po dimbal sanje thamji song danin sonzi yige amar po ni tukar ni sanje tu dorjin sonzi tini hong hong po te tabitini on hong getini san dem gores rangi tu to ko dorje simbatini.
And so then, having visualized,
started or home was a parment to was a parment in it. So you're the Yode Betini, Sanjay the Sancho, some but Tamjets or Jinjin, Zahong, Bahongs in so Jinjin seen it in a Dodges and number seen it in it, or permanent in a Ranglats Sinlaps in it, and it was all gone the between Dodges and some Tumuda Shipa. That had Tamsik, but you would tell a sound that I ship at Sir Oma Honkis in Jinjin in it, certain it's a home bounce in its tumyung ko doas tene wangla jawaringa ya tene so pep tene wangla pampecho wangko ne tene techa de tene jawaringa ya chon tum tamchek ba de ishi ba wangla tamje tene rangju zol gonde be tene dorje sem ba tene tum ko da
So then you're visualized above your crown, Vajrasattva. Vajrasattva having the nature of the root guru. And then think that at the Vajrasattva's forehead, which is in the center of the forehead, between the level of between the eyebrows, but the forehead representing the enlightened body of all the Buddhas. And then at his throat is a red A syllable, representing the enlightened speech of all the Buddhas. And at his heart is a blue Hung syllable, representing the Vajra mind of all the Buddhas. So there's the Oma Hung at the 3 places. And then from the Oma Hung, inconceivable light rays radiate. And these light rays then invite the Buddhas of the 10 directions and 3 times, and the Bodhisattvas, who then all appear in the form of Vajrasattva. And then with Sa, Hung, Bam, Ho, they merge. And so first you receive their blessings, and then they dissolve into the Vajrasattva above your crown. So this is the merging of the Samaya being with the wisdom being, which happens through the invitation. And then also empowerment is bestowed. So for that, then also invited were the 5 empowerment deities, so the deities of the 5 Buddha families, who confer empowerment with the nectar flowing from the vases that they hold in their hands. And then after conferring the empowerment, then also those 5 Dhyani Buddhas then also dissolve into Vajrasattva. So this is the merging of the Samaya being with the wisdom being, which all is at the crown of your head.
That's how we young on it. On Bezasato Sapara, Agampa de Bibi along it in Shatas, then Chupa Pudo, Senas answer with Chupa. That dona and Chupaya, Pitets at the Dorjis and Basambati, Dorji, Tivinchiba, Dorjitam, Samsa Sajet, Sana Dorji Laos, Tatu, but the Chikidoas, and Dorjisimbara, because on to be on Titamki.
Sabe Shuntanarava?
Young.
The Dr. Marava, yeah. So then after that, then offerings are being made. So then there's offerings of Argam, Badam, and so forth. And then, so basically outer, inner, and secret offerings and suchness offerings are being made. And then having made offerings, we also offer a praise to Vajrasattva, where we praise Vajrasattva's enlightened qualities of body, speech, and mind.
Migram Mikpas, that in answer Migram doesn't be beyond last of that, is all to be over. Tane, that took a dawa, Junko thing the home you get Japan match or church, yet that day, that day, country those in the Tambo Dorjisimba, Jubes or Dorjisimba took Chamit Zamla, the dog Chamit Zamlatini, Yam met up Pema Carpon Dama de Patet and Dawa, Davidin, Titanatini. Di Dinatini, Dorje Zing up at Dorje Tamdi, Dorje Zing up by Yota, Gongo set, Dorje Zing up at Teva Latini, Hong Carpo, Dorje and Carpo, Sama Carpo. That of some de Budos.
So the next is the visualization for
Hong Carpo, that Hong Kong, Mama Dorje Dorje Simba, Hong Carpo, the Chaguas. Matuta Turju Dorje Hong Carpo Tele, Dorje Simba, Hong Carpo Tele, Turju Lama Dorje Simba, Teletini, Trupatini, Tamba Rigas, Tamba Rigas, Teletini, Tegetini, Natela, Da Yigi Japatini, Tinitori Yunko, Tinitson Koyang.
So then next is the visualization for the flow of the nectar, purifying flow of the nectar. And so here you visualize at Vajrasattva's heart on top of a moon disk, there is a hung syllable, which is then surrounded by the 100-syllable mantra. So you visualized Vajrasattva above your crown, and so then actually there is a lotus flower, an 8-petal lotus flower that is white, and on top of that is a moon disk, and on top of that is the Vajra with 5 prongs. So all the Vajras you visualize today have 5 prongs, and all the colors are white. So the Hung is white and Vajrasattva is white. And so then the Hung, the first in the beginning, the Hung becomes the basis from which, so the white Hung is the basis from which white Vajrasattva arises. And then Vajrasattva himself, Vajrasattva who is the Guru, he is the basis then from which the 100 Buddha kinds of Buddha families appear. And so then this is represented by the 100-syllable mantra.
Tate tabitini hong teletini trugyu hong tele tani trubatini tambarigi namba om beja sato samaya mani palaya tani yegi japate chur koryon kudwa chutini chutone chon koryon ne tate tabitini mikpazone kowa teletini dor disemba nganting di yes kor kudwa yes on koryon wa te tab san demne mikpazonya tela tani Tara Ngondro so dor disemba rosa imba tini te nang dor disemba chabe res te tawe tini mikpa san de.
So from the basis of the Hung appears then, or Vajrasattva, then appear these 100 the 100 Buddha families, which then appears this 100-syllable mantra, which come then to surround the Hung. So then we visualize very clearly how the 100-syllable mantra circles around the Hung, and it circles clockwise, so right to the right. So what we just mentioned before, the first part of the visualization, that's the outer Vajrasattva, and this part with the 100-syllable mantra circling around the Hung, that's the inner Vajrasattva.
Tate tabatini Hong ta hancheng le tini ozo pat me batine ya sanje ta sancho samba tel thamche le ya chupa phur tel tene sanje ta sancho samba thamje ko song tho yongti thamje soteni ti dorje samba tani yeke japa ha da je bal so sinlap thamje thum tel tene dorje samba tani sinlap ta zizim barwa sam te tab so zigi da dimba nipat dimba jorsong sam.
And so then from the Hung and the mantra garland, then inconceivable light radiates, and it makes offerings to all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and then it gathers the qualities of their enlightened body, speech, and mind in the form of blessings back, and then these blessings dissolve into Vajrasattva and the mantra string, the mantra garland, and then think that through these blessings, then Vajrasattva blazes with splendor and brilliance, and becomes endowed with great power.
That teni te tabata teni ngagita mikpa zone tende sine teni mikpa zone teni nga sa tete sine teni ta dorje semba teni han ching ta hong dan ta data thamche teni kulu la so ban teni duzu ma ba me budwas duzu ma ba ne teni rang ge ju zo ne ma ba me ngo res rang ge ju zo la ma ba ne teni rang ge ju zo lu la ma ba de teni rang ge lu ge teni lu nga yes mi sa ya ba teni tiktok thamche teni chana ke na ba teni dungge thamje teni ta sokcha jur ta barpa ta nyala so ta den na ba ta dungge sin namju nga zonde khol sho du dong khol sho du se do o te da thamje ta samcho te da thamje teni jur ta tipara ja ta la sopa teni ne na cha thamji teni khado namba tabasin ta te tabatini gone teni rang rang dara wogo ni ma wogo ta rang kampan thur la sopa teni ma don song sam da te ya ma don de ran des sa cha te teni kha sene ti shablo le teni tan chubda awalangos tan chubda ga lang sigiri chubda lang kha dang de ra kha dang de teni tarang nga ge lu ge gone ta ne na sa dung ge ta thang che teni ti khana na ma bam ne khana na ma pa ne chama rang ge lu chama ma lu ta ne chama ma dara dorje sem bu du ge lu de chama tu ne ma chama chan chang se ne ta ne te tham ji ma ti chubda ge khana na pa ne teni chubda chumne kha ma zum songa ga gi to gi de khana ya kha chum khana chubda te nga ge le ge ngun ji le ge dara le sa ya ba le ge teni le ben chubda ga na dara na ba sne yu de ba te ma chum song sam teni kha chum song teni sa kha dam teni rang ge lu te teni ram pa yin dara du cho ke gang ne teni khado kar po cha song sam khado ka po cha de nang de teni lu ya khado ka po tik jop chang ma ta song nang de lu ge nang de teni du cho ke nam ba chene gang so tan do de shirmam shoy gang ma ta wo se ge ta teni ka po ka kyang cha song sam de ta teni mi pa song ya tela teni sang do de sem ba se ta tende sen te mi pa de zong ne ta nga ge ni pa sa go ni pa sa ne mi pa zong de teni ramba gi de mi pa ya po zong tu ne de ge ya ne mi pa kha she du zu ma bab de sa chi po sa sam lo ta ya kha she ma cha na de som bam de sa de cho lo sam lo ta tende ji je ji ne chen ne de ge ore
So then this is the visualization that you hold when you do the mantra recitation, the accumulation of mantra. So you visualize that from the mantra garland and the hung in Vajrasattva's heart, then a stream of nectar flows down and that enters into your crown and then fills up your entire body and kind of washing out, cleansing all the obscurations, the negativities accumulated with body, speech, and mind, which then leave your body now in the form of like a smoky color or blood and pus and so on, or and also in the form of various insect animals like scorpions and snakes and frogs and fish and so on. So the various and also like the various demonic beings and obstructors. So often we think that there's this like demons in our mind or in our body. They're inside us. So we can think in this way now that they're all of these demons are outside. They're all like expunged, expelled outside, leaving the body through the different body openings and the lower doors, and also the foot soles, the soles of your feet. And then think that as these impurities leave your body, the ground below you cracks open, and then there appears the Lord of Death, Yama, with a wide open mouth, and think that all of these negativities and sickness and demons and negative karmas and all these impurities and defilements then enter into his mouth, and you have become completely purified of all negativities and all defilements. Your body is completely pure. And so then the Lord of Death then closes his mouth, and you think that now he has been satisfied, appeased. So also the Lord of Death actually appears as a result of your past karmas. And so in this way, through this practice, this visualization, think that he has been appeased and now he is satisfied. And so anyways, this is how you visualize gradually, and then think that your whole body has become completely pure, completely white, filled with the nectar. You become like a crystal vase filled with milk or yogurt, completely white and pure. And yeah, so visualize in this way as you recite the mantra of Vajrasattva. And also you can, as you do the practice, you can switch between different aspects of the visualization. So sometimes you can focus more on how the nectar flows down and cleanses you, and then sometimes you focus more on how it leaves in the form of all these impurities, the blood and pus and so on, and how the Lord of Death receives it. So you kind of can go back and forth and alternate your way of visualizing throughout the practice.
Se hong yang han tang le wun chu sim jin ji dik drab jang san je da san chu sim ba tham chin chu ji to kan de zu jong ko hong yang han tang na ta de du zu jong ba ka kan xia ye ban te hong ne tong rang ge ju zong ni xiu be chen ko wa tong mi dik drab ni tong cho tham ji de so ji ko na ba ro wo so da wang bu go ba bu ga ni tong ju tham ji du zu o me jong da wa kan wa gong tong de song do a tan do de ni mi ba mai ba che ne de ni this background in it dorje sembagetini shaptin thewoni ma babyon se de desute taranga zo namju nyamne siate kulli ge cha thamje ma de babyon se ta te chepar kheda che yo ma le tan dor de na mikba te sem ma yen mikba te zonya te hatyang ki chim cha ko re
A root text, then it says, so you visualize all of this completely clearly, without any distraction in your mind. And so then you think that, so the visualization that says here, so then from Vajrasattva's heart and a stream of nectar flows and fills up your entire body. And so here in the text says it flows through his right big toe, and in some other texts it says from his whole body. So it doesn't really matter, but here it says from the right toe, and then it enters into your crown and then purifies all the negativities and obscurations and all the faults and downfalls accumulated since beginningless time in all lifetimes, and they all leave your body in a form of like a dark, like a liquid, through the lower gates of your body, and all the pores of your body, and what a deeper return. Oh, and so yeah, then in the end you visualize yourself as like this vessel, this crystal vase filled with milk. So the most important point is that you as you recite the 100-syllable mantra as much as you can, that it's most important that you stay focused and undistracted with that visualization.
다데 기름 존에 mikpa zon nga dropa thamje ta sa de nga kuli snang chama ka ho chan ro ya chakba te tini sangwa dorji simba imba te la imbe
and so this visualization, where in the end then your entire body has become purified of all defilements and is completely white. So this part is the secret Vajrasattva.
다 저기도 왔대나 나 잡친 다니 미시 몽바에 담체라는 가르케냐 라망군비 좀더 저어도진 진바트 투지 다니 로버 졸다라 조스 다 도지 심발테네 가게다 데이터는 mikpason 다 투만족 종고요나 드니 가게다 드럼 싱 거르더니 도지 심발테 다다 소완데 거다 가게 딕적 답반 제로 지 세네
So then it says at the end of the session, so after you have visualized in this way, then there is the dissolution. And so at the end of the session, first you supplicate to Vajrasattva. You say that so all the negativities that I have created, such as breaking my samayas with an ignorant and afflicted mind, I supplicate you, the protector, the guru, please, the Vajra holder, please may they protect me, may these become purified. So with faith and devotion, we supplicate Vajrasattva to now purify all our negativities.
Tepa chimbi goni sowa taamdi dorje sempati tukzewa chimbi tini goni dorje sempe shani yis sabananandawa rigyopo chuje tamze nyamchata digjob tamje takpa yino zita chirang digjob nyamcha tamje taasons tini nangwa chingi kore ta nangwa chira taasons tini tela tini dorje sempa udi shene tini ranglama tummi kore dorje sempa Wood Shene, go wood shene range lulatum. Taco song talk sama wood shene range lunga is on the mountain. Then it dodges about the range lunga, dodges and bocosong took down range lunga is a tenny, ear me the chene. Rangan, there dodges and there is a maimpa kama ipa. Chon and a cholo batava, oman and omalo batava. Then it ear me by chanetini. Yenmi the chosons. Tangana to test in Namju Yenmi, Sena Namju Ganas Yamni Sikuyuna. Tangana to test Tana Gombian Latini. Dorje Sempatangani Yenmi Pachason Sanatini, Sema Yenitini, Tana Gombiana, Dikayore. That Telangana so te Konani, Dorje Semba, Sita, Dorje Semba, Dorje Jiki, Seate, the Ninjabari, Chatsanga and Royales. Dorje Sempat, meaning any Chaswati.
So then you have now supplicated the Vajrasattva with faith and with devotion, and then out of great love for you, then Vajrasattva responds, and he says, so now, fortunate child, all of your negativities, obscurations, and faults and downfalls, and also your broken samayas and so forth, all have become purified. And so then, having spoken in this way, Vajrasattva, so having given us, in this way, he's giving us, in a way, again authority. And then he melts into light. And then Vajrasattva melts into light, and then his body, speech, and mind in the form of light dissolves into your body, speech, and mind. And in this way, your body, speech, and mind and his body, speech, and mind become inseparable. So then there's no more perception of I'm here and Vajrasattva is there, but we have become inseparable. We are inseparable. And so then you meditate in this state without distraction for some time. And so this resting in this indivisibility is like water pouring water into water or milk into milk, complete merging. And so then when you rest in the state of indivisibility, that is the fourth, the suchness of Vajrasattva. And so that completes the four generations of the Vajra.
Da Gongden Heaji Lasso, all Ahonding so Java and Rimba, Ninka to Gondi, Sulu Pen Anamanga, Tupangoli, Yigi Jaliapan, Maimba Nang, Java Nang, Dimpa Nang, Ninga Nang, Dimpa said the cake getting Telekir, Dimpa Nangs. Then Lord Luti and Woodrilla, then all Ahonde Ugrai. Then did you like Gom the Latin Sunit and Nang Sartava? Penanga, Shego Nana. Shego Nana pay Karayuna some tongue to do. She could do good. Tina, the need Lu, Sna like it. Dead of Roy Sades on Hong Kong.
In a dream pa tang chi pa marava.
Jita,
Sacha.
Jita. Ji in the eye.
Tilara. And Jiang. So one thing I forgot to mention before about the Omahong. And so we've visualized Omahong at forehead, throat, and heart. And so the way to visualize that is, so not like, for example, the as kind of you stick the on your forehead, kind of it kind of sticks there. It's not like that, but it's inside. So it's inside your crown, your forehead, or the eyes inside the throat, which is the kind of the channel that goes to your tongue. And then the hung is inside of your heart center. And also these syllables have the nature of light, and they are transparent, completely translucent, very clear, just like a clearly polished mirror that has no obscurations at all. You can see everything very clearly. So it's just like that we visualize those syllables.
Tangangi tikiram mikpa zong ditini dorje semba tesin the rang ta yins range dorje semba tara nimpa ngaten khon de range tara ditsum bebyon sepa na yin la ya te ta betini simji yin la ya ngage te mikpa tendre chen zong na dige yore sa
And also for the visualization,
yes simji yin ge chu zo la ya semba gon te ta mikpa zong.
So for the visualization, also Navya just mentioned that you visualize all of that above your crown and Vajrasattva and the nectar coming down and purifying you, and the mantra garland and so on. So you visualize that for yourself, but you can also visualize the same thing for all the sentient beings, all others. So also, for example, all others have Vajrasattva above their crowns and they are purified through the nectar in the same way.
Tabtini ngage mikpa zone nyamlin si in the same mayan wachene same the mikpa la te thaba china tini pe yapo yong pe atren dorsem ke tam mikpa zumtang te rob za gomdang jiram gomdang te so rob za shunru pa yins tini dorje sempa nyamlin si di wang thomna yapo yore ste namju chiran so wang ma thabatini yuna Makeup chance nyamni chen and degree in a mount balawang toyan beso chigores.
So in this way, try to, when you engage in this practice, try to focus on the visualization single-pointedly without any distraction. And so that in brief concludes the instruction on Vajrasattva's meditation and recitation. And so if you want to engage in a Vajrasattva practice, it would be good if you would also receive the empowerment. If you have not yet received the empowerment, for the time being, it's still okay for you to, you can do the practice, but you should keep in mind that in the future, if there's an opportunity, you should try to get the empowerment.
Teni dunta yuma ngans mendar dos mendar the tin the chance on mendar get them at the yuna ya boy or tini ang etel chance yuna te tablet chishos ya.
Next weekend, we will have teachings on the mandala offering. So if you have a mandala base at home, then please prepare this mandala plate for next weekend.
Mina ya ke yumarisa.
But if you don't have it, it doesn't matter, no worries.
It is okay. Ni ta to gon chu chan tan de yin. Teni tawa chen ze ge yin be kable kha ge min ro tu su lo cha so.
Ngại.
Koran so.
Oh.
Kable kha ge do ta tu su zo so.
So
yin be ka le chi ge yin se.
So
Kamachala. Kamachala.
Yeah. So then, okay, yeah, Kamachula. So anyways, so I'm purchasing, so that completes the teachings for today. I know he's wondering, how you are doing? It's a little late now? Are you getting a little tired? We can maybe do questions if you want for like 10 minutes.
Yep, okay. So we will ask a few questions from the previous sessions asked by some of the participants. And I have posted a question in the chat box. As a practitioner, I have some knowledge, but it is difficult to bring this understanding to my heart. How should I practice to bring these understandings to my heart?
Dini nga jidan chun yamne chubada yin dis hakogo yore yin yang di koa chamda wore yin yang koa di nguna ning na la jukale kapores dini koa di nguna ning na la shoya kare gores.
다 니나나 쇼고나 레준들이 이치제 거와 레준들이 이치제 거야 근데 대인데 레준들이 때스 베서치 벤나 레준들이 이치센데 소소리치 강힌도다 베 야나 네나 찬도 야나 때만이 바 강힌도 망고 드는 용식이 저 용인데 드니 오네 달 말만 레사 야바탄 데고 뭐마 레이도와 삼 로와 드니 Te tabu tini lemde de chik samno ha koyoma yina tini chuhiye de bati nyan tesin rogo lobyon se de.
So for the Dharma, this understanding to really go into your heart, you have to really trust in karma. So really make an effort in your trust in karma, you believe in karma. And which means that, for example, of course it's possible that you encounter problems and you get sick or something like that. But at that time, if you trust in karma, you would think that this is my karma. And so with that understanding, if you really trust in karma, then the Dharma that you have learned, this knowledge really will go into your heart.
Pena ngaransu jiwan chewa gepa nawa tsama ko leke teni dogor. Tangi sonsum semen tori sum semen tsama leke tuguyor. Tsendala madewa majiba yana dewa jiba tsama ko leke teni yunguyor. Tso te samno tang teni tso te ha ko teni yena ya te tawa kangi ta tso juwa yana o tso ya lende yin. Rana kangi chuna lende yin ba tso le te samno tang o lende te yangune tara ngarang pe chizogolo. Ndagitani Luke goni Yelan Utsea, Nag goni Yelan Utselaya, Sangu goni Yelan Utsesama Tama, that the so chepa yena, the need the Telatin Devon in Mingupa, Pena, Narang Nag goni Mahimbal Marabchi Lamna, that's her love Yungurva. Roa Mahimbal Marabchi Chena, Soya Marabchi Yungurva, to so that lende, lende say it. Tara Kangi you debated, they tabs in Kondugures. To so the son of the tongue. The name Ninja Ninja Yon Tukudu, Ninja and Betsorche, Rwa, Zuba Gomian Betsorche. The name Soso Gichi, Zavalama Yona, the solo saw Yapota. The so Mina young Sanjela saw tap, Najiba, the so conjosum the deba, Chi saw the young Sians tap. The real Janatini landed this Julie Sigrid. Young Sigrid, huh?
So everything that we experience, being born and being sick, aging and dying is all our karma. And also birth in the lower realms, birth in the higher realms is our karma. And also in this life, our unhappiness and feelings of discomfort and also comfort and happiness is all our karma. So think a bit more about karma. And for example, when you see other people have problems, the difficulties, recognize it's also karma. Or when you have a problem, it's also karma. So think in this way and think that's all the results coming from, all these negative experiences are the results coming from, for example, having hurt others physically, in this life or any life, for example, with the body, or having hurt others with your speech, or having had thoughts of hurting others and negative thoughts about others in your mind. So all of these ripens in a form of negative experiences. And karma is just a cause and effect. For example, if you say something insulting to someone, then it's likely that they will be hostile in a response. And if you mistreat somebody, then it's likely that they will also mistreat you. So that's cause and effect. So all the difficulties kind of come around in this way. So think about karma and also think about compassion. I think that how much compassion do I really have? And I must cultivate more compassion and make an effort to cultivate more patience and supplicate the root guru. And if you do not have a root guru, you can supplicate to the Buddha, it's the same. Or you can supplicate to the three jewels with devotion again and again. But then in this way, so through thinking about karma and so in this way, then it's really possible that the Dharma then really enters, the understanding really enters your heart.
Tani nga zo tara namgyu drupa se bakcha se ya ta drupa se ya tso ke tine tani nga la pe le jim de le yichi che yal kable khapo tani chu lob yo nyam ne se ya te sem nan ro ma ha ba te nga le ji drupa bakcha thopo yo re tani tel tine tani nga ge chu de yapon sem nan ro thu yo ma de tani to so sha pa ya ko ji dip dip le sha jang ya ko che tani su nam sa tende chen na tani kale ko ya chule yichi ta jimdele yichi tini chuning la tsaje ya pinto yores.
So it's normally because of our obscurations and our karmic tendencies, these habitual tendencies, that it's difficult for us sometimes to really believe in karma. And so then even though we might study and practice the Dharma, it doesn't really go into our mind. So that's mainly because of our imprints, these karmic imprints in the mind that are very thick layers. And that prevent the Dharma from really kind of penetrating the mind. And for this reason, we have to practice confession, purification, purifying our negativities and obscurations, and so slowly and accumulating merit. And then slowly, your trust in the Dharma and also karma will increase, and then the Dharma will really enter your heart.
The next question. Beings born in the lower realms, such as hell realm, have no opportunity to practice virtues. How can they be liberated from the lower realms to the higher realms? And when will it happen?
The ngensong na give exemption pena nyava exemption tini chun yamne siya ki kokap yomari tini tini kuran so ngensong le thore la kandas dor go yore katu dor gri thaba taba top ge does
예, 다 그런 좀 인성게 그 라이트 타투면 도스 로 다 가장 인간 좀 인성게 그래서 현대 되는 롬파 까르바는 인성 내게 요르세야 대다 렌데드 마히차디니 대균 내게 요래 이나야 탈시 요래 그런 좀 되는 제약 레지 사요 디 레지 조도 되는 양 그런 좀 야지 탈 용어 요래.
So yes, as we mentioned during previous teachings, once we are born in the three lower realms, it is not easy to become liberated. So we mentioned previously that that's why sentient beings in the three lower realms, they stay there for many lifetimes, for aeons, for many aeons. And really what it comes down to is not understanding and not trusting in karma. But it's still, it is possible for them to become liberated. And that is whenever the karma that caused them to be born in the lower realms becomes exhausted, that is when Chasang.
Okay. Now with dedication, for dedication.
Oh, is it finished? Sorry. You mean nga kikit chasang nga nga jibat chasang.
다 잠만 살지.
Okay. So anyways, we finished.
그래서 저기 마성에는 적어도.
Okay, so we will recite the dedication in English. By this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state, and by defeating all enemies' confusion, the cause of suffering. May all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara. In order to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality as it is, and just like Samantha Badra as well, I completely dedicate all this goodness just as they did. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging, changeless nature, by the blessing of the indivisible assembly of the Sangha, may these prayers be accomplished as I have dedicated. By the virtuous accumulations of the three times, of myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by this root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment.
Om Mani Padme Hum 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Thank you very much, everybody. Chakidele. See you again, everyone.
Thank you, Dorzin Rinpoche.
Bye.
And then thank you to all translators.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Rinpoche, thank you very much.
Om Benza Sato Samaya Manu Palaya Benza Sato Tenopa Tisharino Me Bawa Soto Kayo Me Bawa Soto Chayo Me Bawa Anarato Me Bawa Sarva Siddhe Me Parayesa Sarva Karma Sutta Me Siddham Shiyam Kuru Ha